Thank you very much, Nicole. And you'll see why we decided to swap the order. It's mainly because Stephen is going to talk about the specific output of the project I'm going to try and describe in 5 minutes. Let me hasten to add that the project focuses on how Australian households can adapt to unusual weather events, and particularly how they're going to adapt to heat waves. And I'm trying in the next 4 or 5 minutes to at least flag some of the outcomes of the work done by, I believe, 18 researchers, mainly from the University of South Australia, but also they include researchers from Adelaide University, Sydney University, and Queensland University of Technology. And also, while I'm name dropping, let me mention and acknowledge the support of NCAF for making the project happen, and also the support of the partners, including the federal government and the South Australian government, as well as Uniting Communities and the Australian Institute for Air Conditioning and Heating. You may think this is an odd project. There are so many different organizations involved and so many researchers. It's very much looking at how we adapt to heat wave from a multidisciplinary and multidimensional perspective. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide except to say that it's not the 3 or 4 degrees that we are worrying about our climate changing. It's the unusual weather events, including how many days we're going to have higher temperature, for example, that are going to be the major causes for concern in the future. It was quite interesting to hear Andrew talk about the catchphrase of adapt, migrate, or die with the context of natural resources. I think it should apply equally well to human beings, unfortunately, and we are very much aware in Adelaide of the deaths associated with heat waves, which sometimes is being called the silent killer, and it's certainly the deaths recorded due to climate change have been well past the deaths associated, for example, with bushfires. So our project has been to try and look at A, what are the consequences of heat waves on households, and B, how we can develop the strategies and the options available to us to adapt to climate change in our homes and units. And in the hope that the results of the study will be incorporated in our regulatory framework in building design. The project activities, and I'll go very quickly through them, is first of all looking at how our temperatures are likely to change, not only in normal circumstances, but also during unusual weather events. So as building designers, for example, and Stephen will talk more about that, we need some sort of reference temperatures to enable our buildings to cope with the outside temperatures. So we need to know what are the likely maximum temperatures expected in 2050 and beyond. Our houses and buildings we're building now are definitely going to be there in 50 years. Most of them will be anyway. So we want to make sure that they're now built appropriately so they can cope with heat waves. Also, we know that one of the simple solutions people go for when we have a heat wave is just to turn on more air conditioning and bigger air conditioners, and obviously we want to understand that. So we instrumented a number of homes in 3 climate zones in the country to try and see what are the temperatures within the homes and how much air conditioning energy is being used. While we're doing that, we're also trying to survey and understand what people do during heat waves. So there are some quite clever communication methods that have been used to try and interrogate people during heat waves as to what they're doing, how are they trying to adapt to heat waves, are they staying at home, are they moving to a better place in the home, are they comfortable or not comfortable. Also, there was quite a large stakeholder survey and household questionnaire to find out people's attitude and ask them how will they be behaving or responding to heat waves. The area I'm not going to say much about, I'll leave to my colleague Stephen, is what are the options we have in designing our new homes or renovating our existing homes to enable them to cope better, or to enable us to cope better with heat waves as we use them. And also looking at the entire outcome of heat waves on our infrastructure. For example, how much more electricity do we need so that we can cope with the expected increase in air conditioning use. So, as I say, I don't know how many minutes I have, but I know the time is limited. So I'm just going to flag some of the outcomes, and perhaps when the report is published, which will be in a few weeks' time, any of you who is interested, if you could either email me or leave me a card, and I can make sure that you have a link to it. The one positive outcome is that as temperature gradually increases outside, certainly we are getting enough evidence to suggest that people will tolerate slightly higher temperatures rather than expect the levels of temperature they have now. So this is a positive outcome. The other positive thing is that certainly places like Tasmania will be more comfortable because they need less heating, and obviously places like Adelaide will need more cooling. The overall impact on places like Adelaide is there, but it's not as substantial as it's going to be for houses in Sydney and Brisbane. Just for example, for Adelaide at the moment, the number of days over 30 is in the 60 days or so. It'll go up in the next 30 or 40 years to 70 or so. It'll go up by 10 days. In Sydney, it's now 20 odd days, and it'll become 60 odd days, nearly 70 days. So they have serious issues with more air conditioning needs. Obviously, we need to be very mindful of the more vulnerable in our society, particularly the low-income groups and the elderly, and need to think about how to reduce certainly the casualties associated with heat waves. And I'll leave the next one more to Stephen. But certainly one of the main outcomes is that we need to have a combined response, including changing our behavior during heat waves, as well as reconfigure our house design, and certainly we still need to use more air conditioning in most parts of the country. And with that, I hope I've covered the main outcomes, and be happy, as I say, to provide you with the link to the project report once it's available. Thank you.